Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a different video and it is a story time. And I don't know if I've ever done anything like this, but so bear with me if I'm not that great at it. I want to tell you my journey around my nose piercing because it's all still very recent. It's been a saga. Before I jump in, I don't want to scare you away from getting your nose pierced. Plenty of people, including like my sister, she has her nose pierced with very minimal issues. But of course for myself, it was a whole mess. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. So back in February, I got my nose pierced and I got a small diamond stud on this side of my nose, and I believe it was titanium. It was the more expensive option, which I tend to go for because I rarely switch out my rings post piercing. And I've gotten, this piercing place in my area is really good, highly rated. They've done different piercings for me. It was a L-shaped ring. So essentially it curves into the skin and then it could kind of just slide out as like an L shape. There's no formal backing to it. I love the piercing. It was cute, not too, obvious and intense, but there's definitely a healing process. Like I had to clean it twice a day with saline solution, I believe. Yeah, saline solution. And then for the first week using like a small circular bandage, just put it on at night so it doesn't fall out while I sleep. That's the piercer's recommendation. And so, that went well and I was able to do it. I was just eager for it to heal. But issues started to arise. At least 3 times it came out. Once I was coming out of the shower and I was trying to be careful, but I guess I'm just a roughhouser. I don't know. I would towel dry and dry my face, and it would a string of my towel would catch it and I didn't realize, and it would just fall out, get pulled out, which is so weird. You would think it would be harder to pull out, but I don't know. So that was one time. And then the 2 other times were when I was at Orange Theory working out, and I would remind myself, because I am a person that brings a towel and dries off because I just get sweaty. And yeah, I would try to be careful, but I guess once you get so into working out and you're exhausted and in these motions, you get a little less controlled over your motions, and yeah, it would fall out. And the times to put it back in were really hard. It took at least 10 minutes. I know it doesn't sound too long, but I'm stabbing it. At first, I cleaned the piercing, cleaned my hands, and I try to put it in. It's so hard. I would essentially be re-traumatizing it each time. Last time my stud fell out was back in mid-March. So this was maybe a little over a month after my stud pierced. I got it pierced with a stud. And yeah, we were at Orange Theory. It came out and I just could not put it back in. It was bleeding a little bit. It was really red, and I remember having spoken to the piercer, because we constantly go to that shop for tattoos and piercings, and he said hey, if it comes out, just feel free to come back in and we'll put it back in. So we went after Orange Theory, and because I couldn't get it back in, so I had my, the ring and my red nose, and they were saying we could put in a hoop. At this point, I knew that you had to wait a while to put in a hoop, but it was also tricky because the stud kept falling out and it kept re-traumatizing the piercing too. They do these continuous hoops, so they're just I'll insert a picture, just a circle. It would take effort to take it out. There's no way it could just fall out. So I just thought, you know what, that makes the most sense. Let's go ahead and do it. She went to put it in, different person from the original, so this is a woman, and she was like, oh wow, it's already closing up, even though it was within the hour. And so she had to even get the needle again and re-pierce it essentially. Yeah, I liked it though. I thought it was fun and different for me. So eventually it started growing a bump. I can tell you exactly when, but within a couple weeks, I would say. And it was really obvious and gross, and I was worried about developing a permanent keloid, something that would be really hard to get rid of. So I tried to just let it go and not touch it too much. And I do want to say I feel like nose piercings are one of, a really difficult piercing for healing. And it's so easy to hit it or snag it. So it's really tricky. So this bump developed and eventually I was like, okay, it doesn't seem to be going away on its own. Let's try some home remedies. For about 2 weeks, I did diluted tea tree oil. I feel like it's a popular at-home treatment. A lot of YouTube videos describe like getting rid of nose piercing bumps with tea tree oil and like salt. I tried all those things. I found it tricky to know when are you doing too much or when are you not doing enough, because you can easily, tea tree oil can also irritate the skin at too high levels of doses and depending on your skin sensitivity. And my skin's pretty sensitive. So I just did like the twice a day tea tree oil and it went down a little bit, but eventually it was back to like this really like a big almost like a zit like looking bump. The bump would sometimes just look like my flesh but just a protrusion. Other times it looked like yellow and infected. And I think on other people, like when it's not you and you're looking at someone else with a bump, it's not that big of a deal, but it's when you're on your face, it really like impacts you. And I also wouldn't wear makeup, just to make sure nothing would aggravate it. So it was really hard to look cute when you have this nasty bump, you're not covering it and so on. So, and you don't know if it's gonna go away. So then that leads us to like mid-April where we're in quarantine here in the United States, at least in Virginia. And like, we have like an at-home order. And so the piercing shops are closed and such. So I do want to provide that context. And a lot of places are shut down. So I was home and, trying to do these home remedies. Nothing seems to be working, or it'll go down for a little bit, then come back up. And so I made an MD Live appointment through my insurance. And, those are like kind of virtual doctor's appointments. You can send pictures and they can be quite helpful. So at the MD Live appointment, the doctor looked at the pictures of my bump, asked about different, symptoms, and asked how long I've had the bump. And so she prescribed me, I'll insert the ointment name here. She said, put a hot compress, I think 3 times a day, and put the ointment on your nose, on the ring, push the ring in to make sure it gets in there. And that's gonna help fight infection. So I did that, and she said if it doesn't start working in like 5 days or a week, if the bump doesn't start going down, contact your primary care. Granted, I right now don't have a primary care physician here. Mine left, so like he's not practicing anymore, so that's tricky. So either way, after like 5 days, the bump started going down. And it started looking better. I never knew how much longer to use the ointment, and she never told me like when to stop. So I looked up the ointment and what it's used for and how long is treatment usually. So I used it for 14 days. And at the 14th day, it looked just as big and nasty as ever. I was really upset and just didn't know what to do, feeling like, what is going on here? I really tried to, do my best to work with the ring, but I also was so scared of having a permanent growth on my face and not getting rid of it. I would just be so upset by that because it's like self-inflicted, So I went ahead and made another MD Live appointment at that 14th day with another provider that was like available. And he was just like, you should just take that ring out. He described how sometimes our bodies just reject these foreign objects in our body and being added to our body. So the best thing to do, I would recommend taking it out. By the way, this appointment was like at 6:30 at night. So by the time I got off of it, it was like 6:45, and I went to the bathroom and I didn't know exactly how the ring opened and closed. So I tried to be gentle, and gripping the ring was hard because, I also had like this, swelling mountain on my face, and also I wasn't sure how to open it. So I wanted to be gentle enough to not like cause more harm. I definitely couldn't open it. And I went on Instagram and messaged the woman that like re-pierced it and put the hoop in, and like let her know kind of what happened. I want to take the ring out and the bump's not going away and it looks gross, and how I was thinking about going to urgent care if she thought, and I asked like, do you think they'll be able to take it out? And yeah, I sent that, and then I was just like, you know what urgent care is open? And let me call them. And so I found one that was like 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes away, and I called them. You know, I explained my situation. They said they could try to help and, you know, check me out. In the midst of this whole coronavirus, this felt very like unnecessary, but still very anxiety provoking and stressful. So I went in there, you know, all masked up, and I get in there at like 7:10, and this place closes at 8. They tell me that they don't accept my insurance once I give them my insurance card. You guys are like, why is our healthcare system so difficult? I was like, I don't care, it's fine. Like, charge me. I don't know. And they charged me $50, and then I guess they're gonna like bill my insurance out of network and then send me the bill later. So I paid $50. I'm in the waiting room, and I ended up getting a message back from the piercer, and she's just like, hey, if you go to urgent care, they're probably gonna say it's infected when it's not. The bump can go away like on its own, and if you want, I can probably like come to the shop just to meet you up and take it out one of these days. I mean, I'm sitting there like, that's so sweet, and at the same time, I'm already here. I already paid $50, so I'm just gonna stick this out and see what happens. But I appreciated her message, so I like held off on responding because I didn't know what was gonna happen. Literally wait for like 30 plus minutes, and there's no one in the waiting room, so I don't know what's going on. I get seen in the back. You know, they take my weight, my temperature, all that, and I explain the situation, take off my mask, show them my nose, and essentially I think it was a nurse, whatever technician was with me, she was just like, looks infected, prescribed me an antibiotic, an oral antibiotic, because it looked infected. She was like looking at it, and she did not know how to take it out. And she even brought someone else in who was like, I don't know. They made an offer where apparently they have a nurse who specializes in like wound care that might be able to take it out, but she comes in the next morning. And I explained to the nurse that the piercer contacted me. I know she knows how to take it out, so why don't I just do that? I'll take the antibiotic and we'll just go from there. Then the next day, the piercer asked about taking it out that day, but then rescheduled. She's like, oh, I can't today, I have the kids, which I totally get. Like, I know that this is not necessarily a priority and you have other things going on, and we have the whole virus going on. But then I called the urgent care clinic, and they were like, well, what we can do is you can come in the waiting room, we can go ahead, and the special nurse would look at your piercing, see if she thinks she can take it out, and then we'll go ahead and charge you for another visit, and then she'll go ahead and try to take it out. And then if she can't take it out, you know, we can go ahead and refer you to general surgery. I was like, oh, first of all, you're gonna charge me for another visit? I mean, I get the idea that this is a different, you know, doctor or nurse or whatever, but I'm like, if I was there last night, it's not my fault, you know? And it was just, I was just so annoyed. And to top it all off, they don't take my insurance. So God knows how much this is gonna cost. And then I knew I'd be stressed out going there if they're gonna be like, let's refer you to general surgery, because that would just be like, so anxiety provoking. And how much is all this gonna cost? I don't even know. So I was just hopeful that I would figure things out with the piercer, and at least I have antibiotics to like clear up any infection and just go, at least it's better than nothing. So Thursday was when I went to urgent care. Friday was when the piercer like couldn't meet. And then on Saturday, the piercer was just like, I think that it'll be hard for me to go in the shop, but go ahead and message our like shop's Facebook page, and whoever answers those messages will likely be able to meet you before I can. So I went ahead and messaged and I spoke to the owner. First offered me instructions on how to take out the ring, and then worst case scenario, if I can't take it out, then he'll try to coordinate a meeting. So he just literally wrote out instructions that confirmed to me how to go ahead and open it. So I knew how to, like, what direction it opened, and I went ahead and really pulled and tried not to, try to hold the ring in place to not aggravate my nose, and it came open. I was so happy that the drama was over, and at least in terms of the ring getting out. Then, it was kind of this fear around, will this bump go away? And even the last doctor in MD Live was like, I can't tell you if that bump's gonna go away. You might, if it doesn't, you need to go to a dermatologist, all of that. Actually, it's been over a week now, and this is what my bump looks like. It's this. Can you believe that? I'm so happy, and I did want to note, of course, the journey wasn't easy. I did have a little bit of an allergic reaction to the antibiotics. I was having like a little bit of a rash going on the back of my neck and on my chest a little bit. So I just started taking these past few days, adding just like my normal like allergy pills I already have. I don't take them very often, but I started taking them, and that has been really helpful. But I can't complain. I'm super happy. I know I don't have a nose piercing anymore, but I'd rather not have a huge bump. To offer you a different narrative, one of my classmates went on a less dramatic but similar journey from a stud to a hoop, and got, these kind of bumps, and that piercer, same piercing shop, was able to, like, this sounds gross, drain it. And she just said, like, don't touch it, clean it with water, pop it if you need to, I guess, like drain it, and then it'll eventually go away, because it like there's a sac that builds up and just needs to be emptied. That is literally the opposite of what I've been reading online, and I just take a more conservative route with things, and I just I would hate to have a permanent, scar that I caused. Just sharing kind of my journey with you all, and hope that if you do whatever piercings you get, that they go smoothly. Mine definitely did not. I'm really happy with how this healed. I might eventually try the other side, and if I do, I will wear the stud for like a year, then switch it. I'm not sure, so I'm not I'm ambivalent. I'm not 100% sure if I would do that or not, but for now, I'm just gonna accept this and be happy, because I do not have much of a scar, thank goodness. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it was somewhat entertaining or helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.